welcome back to Python tutorial number 4. So in this tutorial, we're going to learn how to assign variables. To assign variable means assign a value to a string. So first we can assign a value 5 to a, which means we can say a equals to 5. Or we can just say let a equals to 5. And then after we hit enter now a has a value of 5. And if you look at the memory box, you can see that a is an int 5. So if we want to say, if we want to use another variable which is called b, and then when we hit enter, we're gonna get a name arrow because we haven't defined b yet. If we want to define b equals to 1, and then now we already defined b. So in the memory box, b equals to 1. So in this case, we can also add a and b together because right now a is 5 and then b is 1. We can also reassign a variable. So we can let a equals to 6. So right now b is no longer 1, but it's 6. And also we can and if we add a and b, this will be 11 because right now you can see the memory model or memory box. A is 5 and then b represents for 6. So that's why we're going to get 11. But if we have 6 plus 7, this is going to give us 13. But b is still 6 because we're not assigning b to 13. So b is still 6, but 13 is just 6 plus 7 is 13. And then the value of b doesn't change. Then we can also multiply the value of b. Since b is a number, we can just multiply it by 5, which would be 30. And we can also use the operators that we learned in the previous videos, which would be this. And then we can also, for example, we can reassign another variable. Like you can also name your variable whatever you want, or you can also name it as a string. So you can name I have a pencil, right? Number is I have a pencil, and then people equals to 100. So if we add them together, I know it doesn't make sense, but after we add them together, we're gonna get a string because now number is a string and then people is also a string. That's why we can add them together. But if you want a space in between, we can just say number plus a space and then plus people. And that's why we're gonna have I have a pencil 100, but I know it doesn't make sense. Or we can say something else. We can only concatenate the same type. For example, we can concatenate a string and a string, int and float, int and int, float and float. We can't concatenate a string and an int. For example, remember our a equals to 5 and a number and then people equals to 100, even though they are all numbers, but a is an int and then people is 100. It's a string 100, which means they have different types and then you can't add them together. Look at the memory models, and the 5 is an int and the people is string. If you're not sure what the type of a is, you can just simply type a, and then tells you what class it is. Class, and you can just look at this part. If it's int, this part tells you what type is a, and then type people, this tells you what type it is. And then if we want to add these two together, this is going to raise an arrow, which is type arrow. But if you still want to add them together, we can convert a to a string. For example, we can just say string a and then plus people. In this case, we have 5, 100. This is not math. Like this is like a string plus a string. So you have a 5 over here and plus 100. That's why you have a string 5100. Since people is a string of integers, so you can convert it back. In this case, people is still a string. It's not an int. And we can see it. Type people, it's still a string. If you want to let people equal to an int 100, you have to reassign people, which means you need to reassign people, like people equals to something. Whenever you have a variable equals to something, this is reassigning. So that right now we have our people is an int right now. Now we can have another variable like c equals to weather. And then since c is a string, and then we can multiply this by a number. C times 3 means type weather for 3 times. But if you want to add a space in between, you can just simply say, but you need to put bracket. Remember from the previous videos, multiplication has higher precedence than addition. So c plus a space times 3, we're going to get weather, weather, weather. And this is how we're going to get our space. If we reassign a equals to 7, we don't have to type a and then to have the result. We can just say print a. This is also a valid way to do it, because you can just say a and hit enter, or you can just say print a. These things are the same. And then there's also alias. I'll give you guys an example. For example, a equals to 5, and then let b equals to a. So in this case, they have the same number. So if we check the value of b and the value of a, they are the same. But if we check the ID of a and b, so ID represents like where these numbers are stored, which means they are stored in the same number right now, like in the same memory model right now. And then if we reassign the value of b, so times 5, b is going to be 25. But do you think the value of a is going to change since b equals to a? But no, because we only changed the value of b. So right now they have a different IDs. Because you reassign the value of b, like this b and this b, like their values are no longer the same. So that's why they have a different ID. And that's why a doesn't equal to b. Let's see, if a is equivalent to b, this is false. This is a Boolean operation, which means you're asking the computer, does a have the same value as b? And then the computer says no. That's it for this video. So if you guys like my video, please subscribe my channel. Thank you. See you guys later.